So today we are going to be factoring trinomials. What's a trinomial? It has three terms. So you're going to factor something that has three terms. Okay, factoring. All factor means is the numbers that multiplied together to get a number or expression. So if I said to factor 8x, so it says factor 8x. So what two things can multiply to get an 8x? 2 times 4, 1 times 8. One of them has to have an x, right? Because it's 8x. So I'm just going to give one of the factors. So 2x times 4 could give you an 8. So it's working backwards. So it's the opposite of multiplying polynomials. It's giving you a piece of information and saying what multiplied to get that information. Everybody see that? Okay. So let's do an example. So if we have x squared plus 6x plus 5. Now, I am going to use the box on these just because most people are visual and it helps you lay it all out. The box, just like we did on our entry task. So when we do this, remember the x squared was in this first box. What multiplies to get an x squared? 2x is multiplying. So it would be x times x. Now, what multiplies to get, and then the 5 goes in the last box. What multiplies to get a 5? 5 times 1. Is there anything else? 2 times anything? 3 times anything? No, so it would just be 5 times 1. So 5 times 1 gave us this box. Now, do you agree, and this is the hardest part when you do these, trying to decide how that middle term was made. Remember, we did these two middle boxes combined to get a 6x. What things can add to get a 6x? 3 and 3, 2 and 4, 5 and 1. So if you look, if I looked at this 5 times x, what would 5 times x give me? 5x. What would 1 times x give me? 1x. Well, doesn't 5 plus 1 give you 6? So this right here, those are your two factors. One of them's x plus 1, one's x plus 5. Now, it does not matter the order that you write these in. Even on your assignment, I have them written in both orders. The reason why, and this is just a little side note, what is 1 times 2? 2. What's 2 times 1? 2. It doesn't matter what order you multiply in. So it doesn't matter what order you write these in. So this is our answer right here. And I want you to write a little side note over here. the two middle boxes combined to get the middle term. Okay, so let's do another one. Let's do x squared minus 2x minus 8. So again, the first thing you need to do is make your box. What goes in the first box of the box? X squared always goes in the first box. What goes in the last one? Negative 8. And then you're always going to see me put a circle around those two. And what are those two boxes going to combine to get? Negative 2x. So you put the negative 2x to show these two boxes, whatever it is, has to combine to negative 2x. Okay? What makes an x squared? 2x is multiplying, or x times x. Now, you're going to list the factors of negative 8. So you could have negative 2 times 4, negative 4 times 2, negative 1 and 8, negative 8 and 1. The way you can do that in your calculator, if you can't think of the multiples off the top of your head, if you take this number right here, negative 8, and just start dividing, divide by 1 is negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Negative 8 divided by 3 gives you a decimal, so that's not a factor. Now, I could do negative 8 divided by 4. Notice do you agree that it gives you the same pair that you've already written? Yes? So 4 and 2 and 1 and 8 are the only factors of 8. And then you have to remember that since it's a negative, one has to be negative, one has to be positive. Okay? Now, this is the part where it gets a little weird and tricky. You need to find the factors that add to get the middle term. Okay, so what is negative 2? Negative 2 plus 4. It's positive 2. What do I need though? Negative 2. Then negative 4 plus 2. What's negative 4 plus 2? Negative 2. So maybe that one's it. Negative 1 plus 8. What's negative 1 plus 8? Positive 7. That doesn't even get close to working. And negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7. That's not close either. So which one did we say works? Negative 4 times 2. And what you're going to do with that, you remember you list the factors over here. So we have negative 4 and 2. Okay? What is negative 4 times x? Negative 4x. What is x times 2? 2x. No, because remember it's only x squared if it's x times x. So it's just x times 2, so it's just 2x. Now, with this, you always want to check. Does negative 4 plus 2 give you negative 2? And does negative 4 times positive 2 give you negative 8? A negative times a positive gives you a negative, so it would be a negative 8. So here are your two factors. X plus 2 and x minus 4.
So, since negative 4 minus 2 equals 2x, x squared.
No, because remember it's only an x squared when you're multiplying. So if you take a negative 4x and add 2x, it doesn't have an x squared anywhere, just because you're just combining like terms. You only get x squared when you multiply an x times an x. So these two factors we just checked, this box matches this information up here. X squared, these two combined to get the negative 2x, and the negative 8 came from the negative 4 times the positive 2. So on these, whenever it says factoring, all you have to give as your answer are the two parentheses. On your assignment, it's going to have two blanks. You're going to put the one parentheses and then the second parentheses. And it doesn't matter what order you put it in. Here we go. Let's do another example. This one's going to have larger numbers. So if we have x squared minus 13x plus 40. Okay, so again, make your box. What goes in the first box?
X squared.
X squared. What goes in the last box?
40.
40. And what do the two middle boxes combine to equal? Negative 13x. Okay. Next step. Factors of 40. Forty times 1, we always know that one. Now, go in your calculator. 40 divided by 2 is 20, so it'd be 2 and 20. 40 divided by 3, that's not a factor. 40 divided by 4 is 10, so 4 times 10. 40 divided by 5 is 8, so it'd be 5 and 8. 40 divided by 6, 40 divided by 7, 40 divided by 8, and that gives you the one that you've already done. So in the way, and you don't have to have this thought, but the thought I always have is if I went 1, 2, 3 didn't work, 4, 5, 6 didn't work, 7, and then I already have 8 listed, so you know you can stop there. But you can just keep going if you want. But once you hit one that is repeated, you know there's no more after that. Because 9 won't work, and I'll show you 9 won't work. And then we've already listed 10 again, so they're just going to all keep repeating. Okay? So now, you need to look, and what's the next step? We need to add them together, and what do they need to give us? Negative 13. Are any of them going to add to get me a negative 13, though? So 8 and 5 would give you 13, but it's not negative, is it? you would have to switch the signs. Do you agree? So I'm going to go ahead and go through the process again. So 40 plus 1 is what? 41. That's not even close. 2 plus 20 is 22. That's not close. 4 plus 10 is 14. That's not close. So 8 and 5 is the closest. The only thing that's wrong is my sign. Now, I want you to think about this real quick. Does a negative 5 times a negative 8 still give you a positive 40? What's a negative times a negative? Positive. So it does still give you a positive 40. And then does it combine to give you a negative 8? So what's negative 5? Negative 5 minus 8 is negative 13 because they're the same sign, remember? So what are my two factors going to be that make 40, I'm sorry, and then add to get a negative 13? Negative 5 and negative 8. So it would be x times x, that's always the same until on these types of problems. And then negative 5 and negative 8. Now check just to make sure. So x times x does give you x squared. What's x times negative 5? Negative 5x. And what's negative 8 times x? Negative 8x. And does negative 8 times negative 5 give you positive 40? So then negative 8, negative 5 makes a negative 13. So these are my two factors. So x minus 5, x minus 8. Now, for right now, I hope it doesn't seem that complicated. But what is going to end up happening, and it's not, you're going to have time to practice these ones first. What's going to end up happening, kind of like on your assignment yesterday, sometimes you had them if they said 2x squared, or 2x minus 5 times x minus 8. So we are going to get a little bit more challenging, but I want you guys to practice this one first before we go to the one that gets more challenging. Okay, does everybody understand? So there is an assignment on Schoology. Again, how you're going to write your answers, you're going to put x minus 5 in the first blank in parentheses. Make sure you always put the parentheses. And then in the second blank, put x minus 8. Does everybody see that? Okay.